G'day listeners, welcome to Bar Karate, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer. It's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, and of course I have to share the duties with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
BP.
G'day.
How are you, my friend?
It's silly season, isn't it? I just love this time of year here in Australia. Heaps to talk about in this show, but I'm not going to go into that until we get into it. So g'day to everyone.
All right, let's bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Where are you broadcasting from, mate? You're under a pillow somewhere.
No, sounds like he just wanted to wake up his neighbours.
Why does your voice go so much deeper when you speak quietly?
I've built a pillow fort, I can tell you that.
So you're in a hotel. You've just wrapped up Sail GP. We had the biggest storm ever in Sydney's history last night come through, which at 2 a.m. I woke up and I thought, I can't wait to go to Hobart and something like that comes through.
Well,
but yes, you're right, BP. Silly season is here. It's all ramping up. I'm personally now in Sydney. We're actually all in Sydney, peppered around.
And we can't get together.
Can't get together because
that is
scared.
quite funny.
Scaredy cats.
Yeah.
But no, we'll discuss it shortly.
Yes.
Gents, what's transpired here in Sydney in the last couple of days, and I guess we'll give a little preview on what's coming up prior to what would not be our last recording of the year, but the final recording pre-Sydney Hobart in the next few days.
So shall I bring in the guest, blokes?
Yeah, might as well.
Before you bring him in,
Yeah.
and I know this is a podcast, so it's not visual.
Yeah.
But I've been lucky enough to sail with this gentleman, best dressed man in yachting. Can I say that?
Yeah. I've been telling people we're interviewing the second best, and they're going, "Who's the best?" And I said, "We don't know. We just don't want to sound egotistical." We've got the man here.
Perfect.
All right, so I'll introduce him. So our guest tonight, 4 America's Cups, went to the Olympics in 1984. We finished 5th in the 470 class for Italia. 5 World Championships. Just part of the scene in the professional yachting world, and as Bicey just said, well and truly acknowledged as the best dressed man in sailing. Very happy to introduce to our show Tomasso Chieffi. How are you, my friend?
Very good, thank you. Good to have you with me, with you today, and very happy and pleased to be part of the Australian sailing community. Australian sailing community.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
I was a bit excited on this one.
That's all right. Everyone else is as well.
Where are you currently, Tomasso?
I'm based in Milan, which has got no sea, but is a nice city in the north of Italy, and is fairly handy because you can pretty much either jump on a plane or go to the nearest coast, which is on one side is the Ligurian coast and the other side is the Venetian coast. So, and it's a beautiful morning here this morning, so very pleased to be here.
And also easy access to the lakes up there, and then of course the fashion industry. So yeah, you're all good.
Yeah, I'm good. I think Milan has been good to me. I came here after the America's Cup with Del Moro, and I decided I want to be a bit more in the center of the activity. Yeah. Also, we were supposed to have a Del Moro campaign again, which unfortunately didn't happen. And so Milan was the city where Il Moro was based. And that's why I moved here. Then my kids grew up here. They all went to university. Now next year, the first one is getting married. So wow. I'm stuck here.
Wow. Congratulations. All right, shall we kick her in the guts? Yes. With the obvious question, my friend, how did you start sailing?
Well, we started sailing with my father. We were very little, my brother and I think you know, my brother also has been a very successful sailor. But he did 2 Olympics campaign. He was with me with Del Moro. He won 2 different world championships in two Olympic classes. Anyway, to make a long story short, my father was really keen about sailing. He wasn't a racer; he was just a sailor. He bought for himself a little dinghy, which was called the Vaurien, French boat, and we were age of 5, 6, something like that. And we're still living in Milan, so we went on the water occasionally during the summertime. But then we moved to Carrara, which is on the waterfront. When I was 10, and Enrico a little younger than that, 9. And we entered a local yacht club and started to sail on Flying June. Optimist first, but very little. Optimist wasn't so popular at that time. It was more the Orange Flying Junior, which belonged to the sailing school. And we started there. And I remember my father saying, guys, don't go into racing because that will take the beauty of sailing, which is slow. And, it becomes all too hectic. And, of course, we listened to the suggestion and straight into racing we went.
Of course.
And, and we had a very fast career because, in fact, a couple of years later, we were already in the 470. We started as youth team. Won or got second in a very, very international race, very windy race. And everybody was surprised because we got these 2 kids who were probably 15 and 14 jumping on a 470 and doing very well on a windy race. And so, we got noted and missed the Olympic trial by 1 point in 1980.
Oh, wow.
And then we tried again the next 4 years, and we've been very successful initially. 81 we won the European Championship. We were winning the World Championship that year. And then we had match race from Steve Benjamin. Steve Benjamin basically kicked us out from, we were 10 points lead. And but I've been very, very successful until the Olympics. We've been 2 times. There was a special trophy which was organized by the newspaper, the sport newspaper, L'Equipe, which is a French, and they used to do a classment of the Olympic classes at the end of the year. We won that trophy 2 times in 81 and 82. Okay. And then we finally went to the Olympics, which didn't go too well for us, due to many reasons. One was probably the federation picked the wrong boat for us, which was a bit of a shock. But anyway, we did it. And then after that, in 85, we kind of got invited because we were doing so well in 470 to join the America's Cup scene by Lorenzo Bortolotti. Lorenzo Bortolotti was a manager for North Sail Italy back then, and he decided he wanted to give my brother and I a try, and we went and started with Italia, and after that it became a professional career.
So what did your father say at this stage? Obviously told you not to go sailing for racing, and now you're traveling around the world going yacht racing.
No, he was very proud. I'm sure he was very proud. And, I remember an episode in particular when I was 18. It was the end of my high school. And, in Italy, if you belong to a family who can afford, you go to the university. And so my father had a very good friend, which was an engineer at the local. They were building big ship, and he was his best friend. And so they asked me, what do you want to do for living? And they said, I would like to go racing professionally. And, it was a dream for me. I wasn't sure it was going to happen, but the dream became true. And I could, in the end, go and do what I wanted to do, which was to become a professional sailor.
So you're telling me you considered your professional sailing career in big boats started at Fremantle America's Cup?
Correct.
I know a few people that competed there.
Yeah.
Professional, yep. Probably a loose term.
Well, we did. Those were old times. The people used to have fun when they went to yacht racing. I remember the 470 Worlds in Brazil, and there were some Americans, some Australians who got so drunk back then, which had to be transported away from the yacht club. So it was a different. Like if you look at professional sailing today, it is a lot more professional than it used to be. Having said that, Enrico and I were very serious when we were doing our 470 campaign, and probably moving and living in Australia for quite a few months there was a bit of fun involved too. But at the end of the day, we're kind of serious sailors.
No, correct. And I must, having spent a few hours having a few Negronis or whatever it may be with you, you didn't pick up on the Australian binge drinking culture. You maintained your European flair and pizzazz, and just
you know what, we were impressed. We were impressed when we went to Australia, because in Italy, people back in the days in '85. If you went out socially, we weren't drinking a lot, and eventually you had a couple of cigarettes, a couple of smokes, but that was it. And we were impressed when we came to Australia how much the people were drinking. And unfortunately, it's one of those habits that you get very used very quick. And so we started to do the same. But like you said, not being used to it, it was probably harder on us than it was on you. Anyway, it's good fun.
A family-friendly show. We'll move on to the sailing.
Yeah, those are the stories,
Fremantle. I'd like to talk about Fremantle.
There's a great rumour from there.
Fremantle for me was a very, very interesting story. And I tell you what, coming from, you stayed with your brother for 6 years in a row. And you basically sit in the same car, go to the same hotel, and do the same thing day after day, and doing the debrief, the two of us. And going into a big team, was a big change. And I really loved it immediately, because being part of a big team where you cannot decide to tack or to jibe in a split second, but you have to make sure that the crew work with you, and finding the right combination of what your skill can do and what is the timing of a big boat to react to that. It was very interesting. On the same page, I think that what I've learned is, this team spirit, which is very important. When you're a 470 sailor, you are basically, I'm not saying a single-ended because you have a crew, but your mentality is very much focused on yourself. And being part of a team instead is a totally different story. So I was really, I love that side of the team spirit, working as a team. And on top of that, Fremantle was a particularly hard sailing course because it was super windy, super wavy. When the Fremantle doctor started to kick in, for us Mediterranean, it wasn't an easy task. We also had the boat, the Italia 1, which you probably know, was probably the lowest freeboard and probably one of the smallest boats that ever entered in that America's Cup. I mean, if you look at Stars and Stripes, you probably had double the freeboards. So even for our crew member up in the bow and or the trimmer down in the leeward edge was tough. But we managed to stay alive. In the end, we didn't have too bad of a result. I think we finished just behind the English and New York Yacht Club, which has been a real strength in the America's Cup scene for many, many years. So in the end, we were very pleased that with the bunch of very young people. I was 23 or 24 when I drove that boat.
Pardon my ignorance, but what was your role on the boat? Because
I started. Lorenzo Bortolotti, which is a very renowned professional in Italy, is He's been on many, many big boats for many, many years. He noticed us, and he brought us in as a tactician and main sheet trimmer. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to be tactician. Then Lorenzo Bortolotti left the team. I forgot if he went to Azzurro. He quit completely. And we had Flavio Scala, which was a very famous sailor, star sailor back then, which was appointed as the helmsman of the A boat, and I went to Fremantle being the driver of the B boat.
Right.
And I was very aggressive. I mean, if you look at where I was probably, but very aggressive driver. So we ended up doing a good show, and I know that some people from the Yacht Club Italiano, which was the yacht club we entered with, which is from Genoa, proposed that I should have been the helmsman. And so they did. I was the youngest helmsman on the America's Cup, because the second youngest was Chris Dixon. And so, it was a big responsibility, but like Nick was saying, I didn't take it too seriously. You have a bit of the bravery of the youth. Yeah. And so, in the end, I think we did decent racing. I mean, considering the hardware we had and the experience we had as Italian, consider that probably the average age of our crew was below 30. So very young bunch of fellows. And, I remember it was a very good time, good racing, good stamina, good fun, like Nick pointed out, good fun on the shore, because we had lots of friends and we were young and wanted to enjoy our racing. And so, finishing sixth in the Challenger Series out of 13 boats which entered, I think it was a good achievement.
Also, absolutely.
And I believe quite a few people from that campaign ended up sticking around in Perth, or Australia for that matter, post-campaign. Yeah. So, there's always a few little stories here and there, especially when you do go over to Western Australia, you run into a few various people who've basically been here since 87. So that leads us in, Tomasso, to the next cup, just rolled straight into it. And is that the Il Moro? Things get shaken up in Italy there for Il Moro to be formed?
Yeah. One of the things that I always said about Italian sailing in the America's Cup is that there hasn't been for many, many years, and now the thing has been a bit reverted with Prada. There hasn't been a continuation. So, we did the Cup in 87 and then nothing happens for 3 years. And all of a sudden, you want to be a professional sailor. Back in the 80s, beginning of the 90s, it wasn't like it is now, that there is a lot of big boats, owner-driven, with professional crew. It wasn't like that. Either you do the America's Cup or you're pretty much out of the job. And so for us, it was difficult. And, it's been 3 long years. And then all of a sudden, luckily, Raul Gardini goes out with Paul Caillard and wins the Maxi Awards in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And then he talks to his mate, which is Paul Caillard, and the guy from Florence, and they decide to go into the next America's Cup. And it was quite a surprise. I don't know how we got there. I think somebody mentioned our name. Probably Caillard knew us from the 87 campaign because he raced with Black Collar, and they were far ahead of us. But of course, we had some good competition. So Enrico and I got called to be tactician and navigator on Il Moro. Il Moro, with the exception of Caillard, had to be completely Italian in the crew. And there was chosen.
How did that work? The nationality rule?
We didn't have a nationality rule. It was just a decision which was made by Raul Gardini. I think he stick to it. In fact, at a certain stage, we had a few more Americans coming on board, because we had Steve Erickson on board, Robert Hopkins, Greg Dieter, We had a few American names, but in the end, John Collius came as an alternate big boat driver. Adam Ostenfield was part of our team, but the idea was to have the American to teach the Italian how to sail a big boat professionally. And you mentioned before that we weren't very professional in '84, but for sure we're the most professional in the '90s. With the Moro campaign, of course, it was a campaign which was designed to win the cup. There was no excuse to lose.
Yeah.
And so, it was a big team, 300 people, 150 people were in Tenkara, Marghera, or in the offices in north of Milan, in Castellanza. And big team also in San Diego. We started the operation in Venice. We had a 3-month session, winter session in Venice. Then we moved to Puerto Portal, right next to Palma. Yeah. And in the end, we went to San Diego. And, it was very serious, a lot of physical preparation, a lot of sailing, many, many long hours. And, I started with Paul as a tactician, and Enrico wasn't ready to be a navigator, so he kind of became a backup. He played many roles, but in the end, Gaillard used to do a lot of racing with Enrico, and they won the 50 class in Worlds that year. And I was, as a big boat helmsman, I was always going to do match racing with the crew, which wasn't so up to speed, and so we ended up being, with reverse role. Enrico ended up being the tactician, and I ended up being the strategist for the cup.
Yeah.
Anyway, good times. I think we struggled a bit in the beginning, and that's where I probably lost my job as a tactician, because the boat wasn't particularly fast. I mean, despite all the money that we poured into the campaign, the boat wasn't particularly fast. And then all of a sudden, Gaillard decided he wanted to try the solution with the double rudder. The double rudder didn't work. And one day, Robert Hopkins decided that he wants to chop off the forward rudder and go with the small keel and the back rudder only, and to do some downwind testing. We did the downwind testing. The boat went well. And so we're ready to take the tow. And Enrico, my brother, which was the analyst for the performance, he said, "Why don't we try the boat upwind?" And we tried the boat upwind. And we tried, this is
Andy,
not a joke.
You've got to be able to go upwind.
This is not a joke. We thought the boat wasn't going to go upwind, because she had the keel, which was much smaller in chord length than it used to be. So we started to go upwind, and the boat with the small keel beats the other boat by probably 3/10 of a knot. The boat were doing 9 knots back then, 10 knots.
Yes.
So it's a 3% there, snap.
Yeah.
And that's how the boat became very competitive. And, we made it through the final process of selection against Team New Zealand. It was a difficult selection. Of course, the New Zealanders were kicking our ass until we lodged the protest for the bowsprit. And once we lodged the protest for the bowsprit, they got on the back foot. They couldn't jibe so proficiently like they used to do. They had the small boat anyway. To make a long story short, we went from, I think the scoring was 4-1. They've been disqualified from the last race, so they went to 3-1, and we won all the races after that and qualified for the America's Cup.
Wow.
First time ever.
Yeah.
And in the America's Cup, we won a race, luckily. The American boat was quicker, to be honest. But, we had race 2, I think it was. It was race 2 or race 3. We had fierce competition from the beginning, lots of match racing moves. Both had to win with the spinnakers up, and et cetera, et cetera. And we ended up pretty much on the same line going through the finish. And the trimmer of the Italian boat, our boat, Luca Dignani, what he did, he released the spinnaker sheet. So the spinnaker sheet, the spinnaker is flying forward on the boat, and back then it didn't count the hull. Every part of the yachting in its normal position would count as
Finish,
the boat. And so we crossed the finish line by 1 mere second because the spinnaker was flying farther forward.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember that footage. I remember the footage of all those days.
Yeah.
There is some classic footage of you guys battling with the big kites and the spinnaker poles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. It was hard, with the spinnaker pole and the braces and all that stuff. It was bloody hard. Then we had the zigzag. Remember?
Yeah, that's right.
We had the code 0 legs, where you had to hoist the code 0 in the tighter of the legs and then set the spinnaker in the other 2 legs. It was a nightmare. Yeah. It was a nightmare That's
how the Mexican drop was devised.
That's right.
The naming of the Mexican drop.
Yeah. You basically pretty much all the crew were doing at the same time. So we called it the Italian drop. The Kiwi called it the Kiwi drop.
When did the Mexicans come along?
Well, probably because we were close to the Mexican border, so it's right. San Diego, Southern California. That's how it came out. Yeah.
But it's true. Classic times for sure, and some classic
for sure.
Footage. Yeah.
And we were copying each other a lot. I'm sure it was a lot of spying out of the water. Probably the spy activity was more than the sailing activity itself. I mean, every team had their crew member out on the rib spying what the other were doing. We had Steve Erickson on one of the boat, which was one of our best sailor. But like I said, Raul decided he wanted to go full Italian on the crew. So he was in the spy department.
I do want to say for the youngsters, Tomasso, we've got a lot of people listen to the show, and some of them are young, and the concept of a double rudder to them is 2 hanging off the back. So I do want to clarify for the youngsters that there was a rudder right up forward of the mast and a rudder at the back.
Correct.
And it was done to increase the manoeuvrability when you're in the match racing turns. But how the hell did you steer the thing? I can't remember how it steered, whether it was
It was a very complicated system. It was basically invented by the designer of Black Collar. I forgot what was the name of Black Collar and Caillard in the previous Cup, the one in 1987 in Fremantle. And so basically the 2 rudder were going in sync, meaning the one forward will turn left, the one back will turn in the same direction to make the boat spin harder. But then you kind of disconnected after you finished the maneuver, and there was a way to put on an angle like a trim tab. So basically he was acting like a short wheelbase car when you were trying to circle, and when you were going fast it will go in the same direction. Pretty much what they do in the car today. There are some cars which has got like the Porsches, they have this system where they can go in sync or out of sync.
Yeah.
So it was very complicated. It was one of those things that to design the system and make it work and calibrate it, because then you have to make sure that when you go on a straight line downwind, the 3 things are aligned and not with some funny angle.
Yeah.
Anyway, it did work a bit in the 12 meter, because the 12 meter had a very small draft limitation. So basically the keel was too fat.
Yep.
And to make a better aspect ratio on the foil, basically because the rudder could be the same draft as the keel, basically you had 2 appendages which were more hydrodynamically more efficient.
Yeah.
And so it did work. It did work in the Cup. In fact, Black Collar and Caillard had a pretty fast boat back then, but it didn't work too well on the new generation of Cup boat, because of course the performances has gone up. And so basically what we learned there is that wetty surface had a major impact, and that's how we came by testing the small keel. We went from a chord length of 1.5 to a cord length of 1 meter. And after that, the newer generation were even smaller than that.
Wow.
Which is pretty weird to watch, because you see these fin, which are basically like a pin, and they got this big bulb attached
20 ton
underneath.
hanging off.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
The Australian boat discovered that at a later America's Cup, the consequences of building with those sorts of keels. And remember?
Yeah, well, it wasn't an easy task. I did the Oracle campaign afterwards, and I was on board when we lost 2 keel. Yeah. One separated one month, one from another. And we basically learned that there is certain number of cycle that a fin can go through, and after that it will snap. And we were testing with big draft, because we thought if we could reduce the sail area and put bigger draft, we could have gone faster upwind. And because the cap has always, people say that the faster boat wins the cap. In the old days, it was the boat which could round the top mark first.
Yeah,
you pretty much could win the cap. Yep. So we tested that, and we lost two keel by doing that in the Aoraki Gulf. It was a big operation to rescue the keel and get the boat back on the water and go testing again.
Which I think it's really important to bring up here. And this is to our younger listeners. Jordan, you sort of referred to the younger listeners. I thought you were actually going to go down the path of them not knowing what a spinnaker pole was, but it's really important to mention to the younger listeners that these bulbs were 21 tons. Back in the day.
Very hard to lift.
Yeah.
And very hard to lift, and not many trucks would be interested in carrying 21 tons down the highway. So, but you got to understand to the younger listeners what the amazing feats of engineering that was in building these boats.
I will tell you one story. When we lost in the Aoraki Gulf, I think the Aoraki Gulf, when we lost the second time, was probably 45 meter of depth, not much. Yeah. Anyway, when this thing detached from the boat, it becomes like a torpedo. And basically, they find out that the speed the thing could reach was in excess of 100 knots. So basically, this thing goes underway 100 knots until it hits the mud. Wow. And basically digs an hole so deep that they had to rescue for 1 month just to find out where the keel was. Wow. Because then it doesn't fall straight. It goes like a torpedo, exactly.
An angle,
it's got lift. With an angle. Yeah. And as it gets speed, it gets more and more farther away from exactly. And so we ended up finding this thing. Basically, just the top of the fin was sticking out of the mud. The rest was totally submerged.
These things are long.
Yeah, and when they hit the mud, now with Team New Zealand, they've gone very long. Remember, the newer generation of the boat had very long keel, probably like 7 meter. But when we used with Del Moro and Oracle, we were probably 4 meters. And still, this thing gets to an angle and such a speed that when you hit the mud, you basically bent it like a banana. Wow. So once you recover the thing, basically you have to dig an hole around, weld some eyes, attach to a crane, lift the thing up in the water. Once it's back to the dock, you basically have to straighten up again because it's bent with the 2 tips upwards, just because of the impact.
Bit more than a sledgehammer.
You know what's interesting about that though, because you're talking about it dropping in the Aoraki Gulf in the very early 90s. I'll tell you what was in the Aoraki Gulf in the very early 90s, a ton of submarines. There would have been a few submarine drivers going, "What was that?"
Imagine if it went through one. Italians start war in the Aoraki Gulf. How? Well, they lost their ball.
No, but that was not with Del Moro. That was with Oracle in 2000, 2003. I don't know if the submarine were still there.
Yeah, I think they were.
just going back, Tomasso, to 95. Were you signed up to do the 95 Cup with Del Moro?
No.
Prior to the death of Royal?
No, I wasn't. We were supposed to do it. But then you know that Raul Gardini lost his life, and so there was no Italian entry until the year 2000, I think. Well, basically from 97 to 2000 with the Prada campaign. But Prada wanted to do a real departure from El Moro. So basically, none of us were recalled back. I mean, especially the afterguard. Caillard went and entered his own boat representing America. Enrico and I were not part of the team. In fact, I went to the subsequent campaign racing with Oracle Racing because I was part of the crew doing the Maxi Awards with them.
Okay.
That's how I went back into the Cup again.
Yeah. Because you had that run with the Oracle team. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, I initiated in '97 with Larry. It was Chris Dixon called me up. Chris and I went a long way back because we were for 70 Sater. Then we were the two youngest drivers in Fremantle. And then we did the San Diego campaign. And we did a bunch of match racing against each other. We did a few protests to them, you know.
And as you said earlier in the piece, you were great mates.
Yeah, in the end, it turned out that we were decent mates. And, we kind of fight hard on the water, but then, we respected each other. And so in '97, Larry Ellison had his new boat, the Sayonara, and decided to campaign in the Med. Yes. And so I got a phone call from Billy Erklens, which was the boat captain and the team manager. And he said, would you like to come and join us for Palma and Sardinia? And they said, Palma, I already have a commitment, but I can make it to Sardinia. And Sardinia was a very good racing because it was Team New Zealand, Russell Coates and his crew racing on Asso Plattner boat. And Asso is not only a competitor in sailing, it's a competitor in business with Larry. Because SAP is basically the Oracle Germany. I mean, they pretty much in the same field, Mm-hmm. And so it was a big fight of a clash of personalities there.
I never thought of it that way.
And on one end you had Team New Zealand crew, which was with Asso Plattner, and on the other end you had Larry Ellison and his crew led by Chris Dixon. So we ended up also with a bit of luck, because I remember it was one race in which Asso's boat broke the main sheet, the main halyard, and they were leading the race. So they got pulled back. And basically by winning the race, we went on winning the series with 1 day in hand. And from then on, Dixon, Larry kept on calling me to go. I went to Bermuda, I went to Chicago Mac, I went to some other. We came back to Sardinia, winning the awards again. So it was the beginning of a long story. At a certain stage, Larry lost one of his main sheet trimmer, and he said, "Why is he going away?" And they said, "Because he's going to this team which is doing the America's Cup." And then he decided he will do the America's Cup too. And I wasn't part of the team originally. So I called them up. I called Johnny Cutler, which was responsible for the crew. And they said, "Why didn't you call me up?" And he said, because it's difficult. You have to be American or satisfy the residency requirement, which means you will have to move abroad and bring the family. I was getting separated that particular year in '96. So I said, I can come alone because I'm single now. And so he thought about it, and they called me back. I went back to New Zealand. It was the year 2000, I believe. And, we had in the afterguard, we had Chris Dixon, Paul Caillard, John Cutler, Peter Olberg, Eric Doyle, Cameron Dunn, and myself. So I said, I'll never have a chance to do one race, but I still want to be part of it because I think I will enjoy it. I will learn English better. I will live in a different community. This time a truly Anglo-Saxon community. I will learn stuff that I would never learn anywhere anyway. And I joined in. I ended up doing 52 out of 58 races.
Wow.
And we went in the final of the Louis Vuitton Cup again 10 years after El Moro. So I was very proud of that achievement. Unfortunately, we met in the final Alinghi, which was unbeatable back then for many reasons. And after they won against us, they went on winning against Team New Zealand and brought the cup back to Europe.
So much fun.
And you would have had some powers in the Alinghi team as well, right?
Well, I was asked, Jochen Schumann. Jochen Schumann was partnering with my brother in the first Swiss campaign in the year 2000. And so when we finished the campaign, I was out of Oracle because Larry decided he wanted to try different things, different crew from America, and sure, he went for the best he could possibly get. In the meantime, Alinghi was looking for a strategist, and I was on the list. I've been on the list because I know that Jochen Schumann put me on that list. I was on that list for a long time, and then I started, we weren't really negotiating. And then I went as a coach for Plus 39 and did the racing with them. And there was a rule there that if you work for a team for longer than 6 months, you would be unable to jump on another team. And so it wasn't clear whether my time has expired or not, because I was working as a consultant. So I was not a full-time employee. I was going for and back when the training was there, etc., etc. Anyway, when I got fired from Plus 39, I called them up and said, could I come with you? And they said, we're still thinking. And in the end, they took David Bars, which was fair enough. I went into Shosholoza.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bit of fun with them.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
History lesson, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
It's good, isn't it?
Shosholoza, of course, is the South African team that was in Valencia in 2007, which was a fantastic cup, as we all know.
But you brought some energy to that team.
Oh,
yeah.
Some great people in that team too.
Well, whilst we're on the cup, then
It's gotta
what
be
you've
us.
seen since 2007 and the evolution, the big multis going into the 72s to the 45s to now the praying mantis or whatever you want to call it. How have you enjoyed seeing that evolution?
You mean going to the newer boats?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the way and how fast it's evolved into now fully foiling around the race course.
Yeah, well, basically, for us has been a bit of an hammer. There is no question about that. I mean, the older generation, or at least some of us, has been completely cut off from the cap cycle from then onwards. I'm not. We were still aged enough. I think when it started, I did the 2007 campaign. I was already 46, so I wasn't a young guy, a young kid on the block anymore. But had the boat stayed the same, we probably should have continued on racing for at least another cycle or two. I did with Azzurra. We won the Nice event, which was in very light air. We beat Team New Zealand, we finished third. We finished third in Auckland, in the own water of the Kiwis. So, having said that, I mean, I still think we could have been competitive in the big boat monohull, and of course, going to flying catamaran, etc., it was a totally different story. And all the crew responsible, all the crew manager were looking for younger people coming from Olympic classes with not much experience in match race necessarily, but for sure experience in fast boat and a lot of stamina. So it completely changed the world. And in fact, it changed my world for sure, because that was my end for the America's Cup. I went into, big boat sailing with private owner, which wanted to race their own boat to their full potential. So I basically keep on doing what I was doing in the America's Cup on a different field. And, but having said that, I think that, the America's Cup has always been about the fastest boat on the planet. So I can understand why Russell Coutts decided to go that path because in fact, if you look at history back again in 90 to 92, when Il Moro was designed, Bill Koch and Raul Gardini decided that their maxes were faster than the original 12 meter, and that was not possible. Now, if you look at the last evolution in 2007, there were many boats like the Wild Oats and, even the Alfa Romeo, which were already faster than the America's Cup boat. They already had canting keel, 100-foot, masthead code 0, etc., etc. So either you go on that path, which was, in my opinion, what most of the people were thinking, or you go another step ahead and you go super light boat with no lead, basically. Basically, the stability comes from the form, the width of the boat, and not being lead mines. So, and Coutts decided, and I think it rightly did so, that the new cap had to go towards a cycle which was more oriented to the younger people, the Facebook generation rather than the television generation. And he invented all the boundaries and, a lot of other things. And, that's the way he went. So can you argue about that? Yes, of course, we would like to argue. But, as old sailor, we had many, many chances on other events. Like from then they invented the 72, the 52. Nowadays we have those 150 and the Maxi Class Association. So there's been plenty of sailing for us anyway. But the Cup, of course, has gone totally different sideways path.
Do you enjoy watching the current Cup?
I do. To be honest, I've been one of the least critics from its inception. I know that people like Vasco Vascotto, for example, didn't like it, which surprised me because originally we were for 70 sailor. All of us were either for 70 sailor, Flying Dutchman sailor, or Finn sailor.
And he used to be the young guy too.
Yeah, he used to be the young guy, So in my opinion, we should have cheered this new innovation. Of course, it was much less chances for us to go and step onto one of these boats because you had to be very young, very strong, and lot of very, very quick reaction time. All these features that would probably don't belong to older people. And but anyway, I did enjoy watching. I think it does simplify sailing a bit to the audience. In a way, you lost a bit of seamanship because there are no more people on the bow hoisting and dropping sail or jibing the pole.
Yep.
It's a lot of seamanship who's gone lost by doing that.
Sure.
But on the same time, you simplify for the audience. And if the goal is to have the funding, and, history is telling that now Ineos has entered the Cup cycle. Red Bull will go with Alinghi. Oracle is already in with the Sail GP. You would say that the big corporation has stepped into our game.
Yeah.
And so I think probably for the future of the sport is a good thing.
I do want to, for the listeners, I'll just clarify a bit. So Tomasso went on and he sailed lots of boats. So won the world champs in the IMS, in the World Offshore, the FAR 30, in the X35, in the Swan, won the world champs 3 times there. Inshore tactician for ABN AMRO in the Volvo Ocean Race in the time they won the Ocean Race. And now I think your main gig is the super yacht My Song. Now, here's my question for you, my friend. I've been looking at photos of My Song. She's a 39-metre super yacht as far as I can work out. Go online and have a look at how many people are on that boat. How do you remember everyone's names?
I don't.
Easy. Chicho.
I don't. Well, actually, that's the easy task because, in fact, on this boat is pretty much all my old friends. So that beautiful. You have the old memory always sticks with you. Yep. The problem is that when I go on newer boats, maybe with Russian crew or American crew, and I have a very bad memory for names. So yes, I do have a problem. I have to admit. And sometimes I call a guy with a different name, which I invent myself for a full week until at the end of the week, he pops out. They say, "Hey, by the way, I'm Mike, not Mark."
He finally gets the guts to come up to you and say, "Mate, come
Exactly, exactly.
He doesn't
No,
want
but-
it, doesn't want it.
Yeah.
It looks so much
No,
fun.
but the super yacht has been a very interesting process, because in fact super yacht takes all the difficulties of a big boat and elevates to the square, and going around the race course on a proficient way with the boat that big has been a big task even for us, which we basically of the 30 crew that you see there. 24 are ex-professional, ex-America's Cup sailor.
Yeah, right.
And to coordinate that bunch and make it work, of course, we're aided by electric winches, hydraulics. So it's not all man handling. It's more about finding the timing to do the thing and not having mishaps. And but it's been a difficult task, and it took us a long time. In fact, the first year we struggled a bit, and then on the second year we're coming to terms, and we eventually went on being tied in the Sambart Regatta for first, and with the big boat. I forgot the name of the big boat, the two mast green German boat.
Oh, yeah.
And I forgot the name. I should look back.
I like it.
Anyway, we were doing better then, and unfortunately, the boat sank in the Gulf de Lyon.
Yeah.
Because
Fell
she
off the
was
ship,
being delivered. She was being shipped back to Europe, and she was a bit on delay because of many reasons. And we ended up waiting for the boat, which never made it because the guy which was in charge of the ship went out because he had to deliver with the 4-6 in the Gulf de Lyon, and the boat was very big compared to the ship, and apparently the ship started pitching and rolling until she lost the load overboard. So that was the sad story. The sad story.
Very sad story that was. She was a very beautiful, very beautiful
looking
boat.
boat.
Yeah. Difficult to use, but very beautiful.
I think that the thing that stands out for me, though, is that the sailing you've done looks like a lot of fun. Do you know what I mean? Like you would have had you go to great locations, you get to sail with a lot of your old mates, and, it'd be a very enjoyable way to spend your time.
It was. I always keep saying that, it was a dream to become a professional sailor. It was a dream to make a career out of it. And the dream came true. And I've been very lucky to be part of this, 30 years of sailing. And like you said, in the most beautiful location with the best possible owner and crew. And, we did for living what we really loved. We would have done it for free. And we got paid to do it.
Well,
we got paid to do it, and so we didn't have to think about finding a regular job, because that was our job. And I ended up being very busy some years, because the year of the Cup in 2007 in Valencia, I did sail for 330 days that year.
Wow.
Because I was doing the America's Cup, I was doing the inshore tactics for ABN AMRO. I had the TP52 campaign, a FAR 40 campaign, and I forgot probably the MAM 30 campaign where we won the awards that particular year ahead of So, busy year. I went back home, it was December. And sure enough, on January the 3rd or the 4th, we were on a plane going to Valencia for training to go to the Louis Vuitton series. So, it's not a job. It is a job. At the end of the day, it's a time consuming, and you travel so much without seeing much. But you feel part of a family, and you do a good life, and you can pull yourself physically fit because you have to. So you age a little slower than the normal guy will do, and so it's all good. It's all positive aspects. Of course, you have to deal with the aftermath of that, when this thing for natural reasons start to slow down, and you don't have the phone ringing so often like it used to be, and so you have to find yourself different interests. But luckily in Italy, like you said, I'm a bit of a legend, and so people start calling me. Just recently I've been called by the Compagnia della Vela di Venezia, which is the yacht club which Gardini picked for challenging the America's Cup back in '92, and they call me up and say, do you want to help? Sure, I want to help. I'm doing the same with the Yacht Club Italiano. I'm trying to bring new people, like you mentioned, the young listener. I'm trying to get as many young people I can on my boat, the boat I sail on, and try to teach them what I know. And because I think that in a way you have to give the baton, the messenger to the new people and say, listen, this is what I did and I loved it. And if you come and join with me, and if you like it the same way I do, then I know it's going to be a follow-up.
With that, in that stage of life, recently, have you been working with a sailor, like a young sailor? You don't have to name names. Have you just been working with a young sailor and just gone, wow, this person's talented?
Well, the majority of them is talented.
Of course.
The majority of them is talented. But the problem is that not always you find the right teacher. You can extract their full potential. I was very lucky because in my days we had 4 America's Cup in a row, 4 different, and so you get to sail with Kayar, Dixon, Peter Olberg, and on the shore side you have people which are very talented in putting the electronics together or the winches together, and then you go to the sail loft and you have this wizard of the computer. I remember Michael Rickelsen back in the days in '87 was already using the computer to design sails. And so you get to see all these people, how talented they are. And, you kind of, there is a bit of permeation into your brain of what you can do about sailing.
It's a big machine. It's a huge machine.
Yeah. Not many young sailors got this opportunity. And so for me, it's very important to try to create this opportunity, even in my small worlds, which is the big boat held by private owner. But even so, there is some money and some skill involved. And so, yes, and this is one of my goal is to try to bring as many young sailors to join the sport and enjoy the sport and eventually continue with the sport.
Wonderful.
You do have a youngster in Italy that obviously got quite a bit of notice in the last few years. Marco Gardoni, I think, is that correct? Gardoni?
Yes. Marco Gardoni has been Optimist World Champion, I think, 3 times.
Yeah.
But also we have the likes of Bissaro and Titta, which has been pretty much winning every single NACRA 17 World Champion recently.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
And there is the son of a good friend of mine, which is Simone Ferrarese, which I sailed with him in the Congressional Cup. Very talented match racer. And, one of the things I've been doing in the past without much success, to be honest, was to try to find the money to enter this new guy into some professional arena like the Sail GP or,
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy. Of course, Italy is struggling like any other European country these days. And, it wasn't much better 3-4 years ago. But anyway, still trying.
Good.
Wonderful.
Love it.
It is amazing, isn't it? There's
When are you going to write your book?
Yeah,
Tomasso?
that's right. That's right.
No book.
Good idea. We'd have to have it. 1 page is all the stuff we're talking about. Then you flip it upside down and return it around for the good stories.
There is a lady which I met, which was working a lot with rugby and other sports. She wanted to write a book, but then we didn't make anything out of it. I think it's too long of a process. And then they end up being a self-celebration, which not necessarily is a good thing.
Well, your brother might buy it.
And my sister.
Yeah. Correct.
Our mums are our biggest fans, so don't worry.
Exactly.
Okay.
So how many cups did you sell? 10. Okay.
But it's stories well worth speaking about. And look, it's been wonderful having you on the show, and I hope that there's a lot of people who can hear those stories and just think about how cool it was back then. I mean, we were very. I'm going to say, I mean, I was very young at the time, but having been at the 2007 Cup, it was just good to see, how it all rolled along, and it's still rolling along today. So I guess thanks for coming on the show.
It was the 2000 Cup. It was amazing. Yesterday we were watching the Grand Prix on TV with a bunch of sailors, and one of them is an ex-mate from the 470. He was telling me what must be to be on the show and to feel it. And I said, look, maybe Valencia wasn't quite like that, like the Formula One, but it was as close as it could be.
It was close, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome.
I was just going to say that when we have guests at major events like the ocean race and stuff, they say that the experience of the ocean race or the sailing events is better than the Formula One. The ones that go to all the high-end shows, they get much more fun out of it. So it's good.
Yeah.
I think what we would do next, I think we've got to call BP's onto it. We've got to call time. But I think our challenge as a threesome is to go to Italy and for when Tomasso is doing a talk at a yacht club or something like that, we go and drink lots of beers and sit at the back and cheer for him and just have a laugh.
Mate, don't worry, we get there early enough. We have some Negronis and I'll be able to translate for you. I learned some of my best Italian from Tomasso.
I love it.
Yeah, great.
Awesome.
Thanks, mate.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Second best dressed man in yachting, gents, right there.
Agree with you.
Having had the privilege to sail with Tomasso probably 20 odd years ago. And I must admit, apologies to the listener there. Anyone under the age of 40 would probably struggle to remember a lot of those bit stories. But anyone who grew up around, especially 12 metres and IOCC boats, like this was like just going down memory lane from a different perspective. So how good to just have all that history in his mind and for him to explain it and what was going on and the way he's seen yachting go. It was quite an insight.
Absolutely.
I like the way he sort of referred to what he's doing now as well. And, he obviously likes what's going on in America's Cup, but he knows that it's a young man's sport, but he's now headed off down the super yacht path, which is quite a nice path to be on, I'd say.
The entertainment industry.
Yeah, the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
and probably suits his attire quite well.
Absolutely. If anyone can wear a pair of white pants, it's one Tomasso. But also just putting back into the sport with the youth that's going on. And I think that's important. Actually, that could be a good one. Anyone who understood 80% of the stories that we spoke about or remembers 80% of those stories, it's time to start giving back.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
That's the timeline.
I love it.
It is.
All right, boys. Speaking of cool stories, our club news. I spoke to Pam Johnston from Narrabeen Lake Sailing Club, who is the Commodore. You'll remember we discussed how they had the very traumatic experience of losing their club to fire. We mentioned last week the GoFundMe campaign. We caught up face to face, and she was overwhelmed, incredibly grateful for the fact that we'd given it a plug and we'd mentioned it, and she said it's just gone incredibly well. The club is probably a couple of years away from being able to reconstitute itself and get everything built up. Pretty much everything was left, was destroyed. There was one taser left, but they realised it was a taser, so they wiped that out as well.
so they burnt it. Sorry.
They drove up and down the coast, got a few lasers, chucked a bit as well.
No, just jokes. That was a joke. Obviously, yeah, but she was overwhelmed, and she said the community, the way they've got behind, and also just the response to the GoFundMe, it's really made a difference. They'll probably try and do something with containers, and so they've got storage space and they can continue on sailing. It's a great place. They do particularly do a lot of stuff for juniors, and as a result of that, it seems like the community really has embraced that. So it was a great story. She was so happy for the contribution from Barkarati to that and our listeners. So she just wanted to get that across.
Excellent.
So, yeah, by the way, gather round, listeners. Go check it out on the GoFundMe page. It's pretty easy. Just do a search and you'll find it. And doesn't matter how much it is, but have a crack.
Happy days.
Happy days.
All right, Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. Awesome.
Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. It's been a busy week. Plenty of emails coming in. It's bloody hard to keep track, I must admit. We're going to have to split up duties.
Well, the girls out the back are busy, aren't they?
Who's going to run the emails? Who's going to run the DMs? Who's going to run the messages? What else have we got? We got pretty much
beer
everything
run.
covered.
Beer runs.
Yeah, the beer runs. So, we've got a couple of nominations this week. One is at Scott Patton, who from NZ, who believes Bertarelli's put the team in, Alingi in, and is going to push for the cup to remain in NZ, just to get back at Dolks after those years, all those long years. So has the politics started?
Yes.
Is it Rob Cumine from Hobart celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Young 88, first splashing down, hitting the water? Who I just literally saw this morning a photo of Sailor Jerry's rum sitting on the on the saloon table on the Young 88. So they're enjoying their celebrations down there. And I personally cut my teeth on the Young 88 early in the days on the mighty Jigsaw out of Adelaide.
It's a nice one for sale right now.
Or is it Australia Post for sending us about 8 emails a day? I've never opened one of them, but I assume they're fans of the show.
I thought it was spam. I thought it was a corrupted file.
I'm with you, BP. I never actually could. They might be just fans just hitting us hard.
Maybe it's being shared amongst the officers. Yeah.
Oh, here they are again.
What are they saying now?
They're on it, though. Oh, they just want us to send more T-shirts, basically.
Yeah.
So it's good little.
Is that where they're going? Is it?
It's a good little one. So get onto the website, check out the merch. Anyway, my vote, one vote each. Rob Cumine, Young 88. It's got my vote this week.
Scott Patton.
Okay, no, yeah,
Scott Patton
like
for me.
Australia Post.
1-1 at the top of the leaderboard.
No decision made as per usual.
This is going to the final race. Talk about final race.
I guess that's a segue, BP. It's a nice one into Sail GP.
Yeah. What a great
Mate,
couple of days.
So we're gonna bin a few of the other little tidbits of what is the wrap up of Barkarati and just give a bit of a Sail GP wrap up itself. Give us your chronology of what's played out in the last few days, Jordan, and then we can go into a few topics.
Okay.
And I think you're the man to do it. You were there.
Yeah. So I had beers with the boys on Thursday night. We rolled into Mai Tais on Friday night, and then Mai Tais last night. Is that what you're asking?
Oh, so Australia, Hawaii. Right, yeah, makes sense.
No. Yeah. So the whole setup is obviously, it's a TV show. There's no doubt about it. That's what it's here about. But it's pretty cool. They've got connection into the corporate world. Obviously being a well-funded program with the Larry Ellison's backing, it makes it pretty easy to work. They've got some grand plans for the event. It's not, they're not just growing it to 10 teams now. We always thought it was 10 teams, heaps of races, that's it. The word I heard is that Larry Ellison asked how many events much does the Formula One have? All right, 22 or 21. Okay, right, we're doing 23. So they're actually quite keen to grow it to an ongoing, almost fortnightly show, which is just going to be incredible. They're very determined to make it environmentally positive rather than actually draining resources. So they want to try and make it happen without impacting the environment in any way, which is mad respect. Looks like they're very determined to drive the female piece and try and get as many women going. There could actually, if they do go and have 23 events, they'll probably end up doing 2 leagues. So looks like everyone's going flying. But yeah, as for actually the event itself being right there, it was so much fun. There's a real... because everything's shared on the boats, because all the information and all the data is shared, all the any changes to the class is discussed amongst all the teams. Everything sort of is communal in a way. It's kind of weird.
Boats are shared.
Yeah, the boats are shared.
Yeah, we saw that.
So there is it's a super positive vibe there. It was really cool to hang out with the sailors. It was a bit different though. We couldn't really get too close because of the COVID thing. They sort of have because I had to do a lot with general public and sailors, we just sort of had to keep a little bit of a gap and really be conscious of the COVID space so that we don't get infections running through the camp and then people can't sail. So it was managed pretty hard. I've never had more shit shoved up my nose in such a short time from all those COVID tests.
You did work in banking, mate.
Took you back to your uni days.
Not me, boys. You know me. Straight as an arrow.
No track marks here.
Yeah. But,
way too smart for that.
Nothing left behind.
But yeah, no, it's a good event. It's definitely going to be the one that stays. It's the fact that it's got the backing and the thing that really blows. It's probably the same for you boys. You can watch it as much as you want on video, but when you see it live, holy crap, how fast those things are going.
I got to say, we were out sailing on Thursday night, and it was packed on Thursday night. Wednesday night, and they came flying past. We were on the Etchells doing our 4.5 knots, and they came flying past. It's pretty spectacular, and what a place to do it. I mean, the harbour was just perfect couple of days.
So I was fanging about on a rib the whole time. I had like a 30, 40 foot rib that do about 40 knots. And we had to plan to go before boats to stay with them. We couldn't stay with them physically with our rib. Right? We just couldn't. And the thing, we were going so fast, our shirts were blowing off, it was ridiculous. So you had to take your hat and sunnies off to hang on.
Well, you had your shirt on?
Not normally, but, I'm getting a bit older. Super cool. Racing. Day one, Spain. Hey, how good?
Yeah, it was a great day for them, wasn't
it?
Yeah.
Are you purely responsible for the uptick in Spain's performance over the last couple of months? Few little tips you gave Phil when we had him on the show?
Yeah, and was this a little secret sort of way to coach them?
Look, we've kept it confidential, but obviously, we did have a bit of a discussion.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I was chatting to Phil about it, and he concedes that all the success has come from just talking to us on Barker 80, where we analysed the starting. He was super cool. Actually, it was great to catch up with Phil, and. The other thing I think they had was a bit of boat speed on that day. Like they had they had pretty good boat speed, so they were nailing the starts and they had really nice boat speed. The other thing that jumped out to me that I didn't pick up on watching, on videos, is that the difference in boat speed and height if you get in pressure. So it's absolutely critical to stay in a pressure line, and the difference is 10%. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a massive, and that's where there's more passing lanes out there than you think. Like if you're watching on TV, you think, oh, they're just following each other up, but no, there's passing lanes there, and it's all about pressure.
Well, it was a very gusty day yesterday. You could see it on the water from the air. Yeah, just a day that it happens quite regularly like that. We call it a black nor'easter, where there's quite a bit of a system that was sort of building off the land, and So anyway, that did allow for some exciting racing for sure.
Before we actually get into the racing side of it, couple of points I've picked up on there, Jordan. The 23 events. Does that go back to our theory that core boat builders are just going to be busy for the next 3 years? They're going to just keep building boats.
100% certain.
And leapfrogging.
Yep. 100%.
So boats left in ports or regions or zones or something like that, and have boats touring all the time.
Maybe. One thing, they're going to be busier because they've agreed to a new foil package, so there'll be new foils on the boats next year. And so that's not cheap. We all know how expensive building a set of foils for a foiling boat is. So plenty of dollars.
So they're investing in that for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess the boat's just getting more and more refined from a control and electronics point of view in regards to keeping them on the water. So that's great. Yeah. And the other key point I picked up on the environmental piece, you go on the website and there's a huge push for all of that, and you can offset tickets and stuff with a contribution for carbon footprints, blah, blah, blah. But slightly contradictive, and this isn't in a negative at all. You got ribs smoking around everywhere. You got people flying around everywhere. I must admit, I haven't looked how F1 deal with it, but there's surely a plan behind that as well, and how that is offset.
Yeah, the problem for the ribs, and they admit it, is that all the sort of transfers they do with electric powered vessels, but for chaser boats, they can't do it electronically powered at the moment. So they're working towards that solution. That is a goal. It's definitely a goal, but it's ironic that they've created these sailing vessels that are so fast that no conventional powered vessel can keep up with them. You know what I mean?
I guess what the best thing, there's so much technology here, right? And now you've got a couple of F1 teams lined up with a couple of cup teams as well, which is another discussion. But if we're ever going to see an evolution step in electric propulsion, it's kind of now, right? If they concentrate in those areas.
Well, absolutely. If they can get a Formula One car with hybrid sort of power, surely they could be going down that path first, you know?
Yeah, but basically the technology, the resources have never been greater to take a big step.
Good point, Icy.
Well, just a stupid aside piece of trivia. If you remember the Jetsons, the cartoon series, the Jetsons.
George,
and they're all flying around and everything.
His wife, Jane.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sonny Elroy.
He's due to be born. That's
what was the daughter's name?
Sorry, go again.
George is due to be born. He was born in 2022, so we're not far from that technology coming back anyway, so we're good.
You're right, actually.
I love it.
You've got to do the research, PP.
But you're on fire on the weekend.
George Jetson is born next year.
Yeah, that's true.
And makes a 1950s cartoon.
Yeah. All right, well, we have to... what do we think about the crash?
Oh, well, first of all...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Got one for you.
Yeah, okay.
What happens if you do too much bar karate? Karate chop. Pushka. Jesus. Mate, how amazing was the crash?
Oh.
So, Jordan, you were there. You were part of the action. Was it... do you think Ben completely missed seeing them? Yeah. It was a bit of a ride height issue, and they were just kind of out of control because they did that big bow down and then almost launched it out of the water, or as they say in the classics, Did they just fuck up?
I think
All of the above.
all of the above.
All of the above.
I think
it
you're
was
right.
almost a response thing that it just launched up, didn't it?
All of the above.
You look at the footage from on board Japan, geez, it's close, isn't it?
So just for the listeners, I was talking to Langford and Jace off the Australian boat. So that's the flight controller and the wing trimmer. Because when the gusts were hitting, I was really noticing just what the boats were doing. I was sort of, doing a bit of analysis, and the boats really sort of lift quite quickly as the gust hits. And what Jace was saying was that, when you're obviously a gust hits, your apparent comes aft. So, it's like a kite a little bit. You ease your wing into it. It's like a spinnaker, sorry. You ease into a gust. So they ease the wing into it. And what that does is it unweights the boat. And they get all this extra lift off the foil because you're going faster suddenly. So the boats automatically come up. So they've got, for the flight controller, they've got sudden lift. They've got to change the angle of attack really quickly. So it's actually quite hard to keep the boat stable. And so much pressure on the flight controller. And obviously with the gustiness, like yesterday, for example, it wasn't a thermal breeze. It was really like a strong nor'easter, as BP saying, but because it wasn't a thermal, it was a gradient breeze. Lots of pressure changes, lots of direction changes, and it was a hard day. You could see it was really tough on the guys, all the teams. But the day before, I just didn't see, was too focused on Spithill, perhaps too focused on Spithill, the USA team, and then just came down and straight into Japan. And if you go and look at the footage, the grinder at the front, geez, on Japan, did you see how quick? Oh.
Hey, I got to say, it made me feel a bit crook in the guts. I mean, we've seen it with the super foilers, with the Nacras, all these foiling boats, a few little accidents and shit.
It's bound. Without focusing on it, it's a dangerous sport now, isn't it?
And despite all the everything put in place by the umpires and the deterrents, you just cannot calculate for something like that, 20 plus knots coming into a start, massive directional changes, different wind changes, different ride heights. Whew. It's scary stuff.
Guess what the conversation Friday night was?
Roll bars?
Halos, like the Formula One cars. There was all this discussion around halos.
I think I was just thinking that. I think
because they're quite exposed up in that windward hull, right?
Absolutely, though. Everyone.
The other one that occurred to me is if you did have a big crash like that and it cut through and then ended up turning and sitting on top, so not only would the sailor be at risk of the foil coming through, but they could be squashed or locked in a position, locked in there, and the boat starts sinking. They do have, they've got oxygen everywhere on those boats. They've got safety divers. Our good mate Henry Woodhouse is a safety diver for the Great British team. So I reckon in that crash, he would have been all ready. Henry, he would have been. Yeah. He would have been.
Oh, mate, he's ripped his shirt off, got a knife in his mouth, showing off some tats, did a lazy flex and jumped in double somersault in the half-pipe position.
He actually said exactly that.
I've just got visions of the bloke doing it.
And he was cutting people through using his shark tooth that he's got around his neck.
He's a good man. He was, so he was ready to go, so each team's got one of those. They've got grab bottles everywhere on the boat.
So just going back to the crash, obviously there was a chat with Nath about the sportsmanship, if you like, of Ben giving him the boat. Japan went very, very well yesterday. Very, very well yesterday. Do you think there's a difference in hulls? Is there an M11 thing going on here?
Well,
come on,
Ben's done a bit of M11 yachting.
Do you think it's a better boat? Because Nathan's not going to want to give that hull back.
Well, put it this way: if he's relying on the hulls, he's in a whole heap of shit.
Boat in general.
He used his own foils, right?
Yeah.
Obviously his own wing, but
geez, he sailed well yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, didn't he?
I think
something to prove, and he took it to him.
It was a fantastic effort. But let's talk about the results.
Just on that, though, I think BP just say no. Francesco Bruni didn't come down. So I think they brought our good mate Leo Takahashi back onto the boat, and Leo had been sitting up at Port Mac on Lake Macquarie, eating and drinking. He'd been drinking his Fanta and
Eating schnitzels.
And then it just took him a day to get himself sorted, I reckon.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was...
Get rid of that sugar rush.
You could see he was going, oh, hang on. On the first day, you know, there was a bit of... The platform was all over the place, and I just think he just got it dialed in. So I think the team just took a few days to get dialed in. That's one of the things. But, yeah,
so we don't have a boat controversy here.
No, it's definitely an M11 thing. You're 100%
It is. Okay. All right, we'll start that. So what is proceedings moving forward from this, do you reckon?
Ban the fleet.
Ban the fleet?
Yeah.
All right.
All right, result-wise,
yeah.
Before we actually talk about the weekend, the seamanship show by Ben to give Nathan his boat, does that now put GBR out of contention for the final?
100%.
Which is taking place in March?
Yes, it does, yeah.
100%.
But it opens the door, it keeps the door open for Nathan.
That crash had Australia's 100% into the final now.
Yep.
That crash just took $1 million out of the pocket of GBR, possibly took $1 million out of the pocket of Nathan and Team Japan, sorry. And, Japan still can qualify. It's a USA, AUS show.
Yep.
Obviously,
Battle of the Gingers.
Battle of the Gingers. You've got that written here. Red Mist Ginger.
Oh, mate, the Ginger
Challenge.
The
Ginger Challenge is on.
The Ginger conversation. Slingers was putting it to Spithill, I tell you. It was hilarious. He embraced it 100%, mate. He's hilarious.
All right, so this is the Ginger Challenge. This is the real Ginger Challenge then?
Well, of course, there's still a third boat comes in. So, I mean, it's likely to beat Japan. It's still on the numbers. But, I think GBR's down and out. I don't think they can qualify. So there's a clear gap of 3 out.
3 allies, yeah.
That'll likely be the 3 boats that make the final. And remember, for the listeners, it's one race, $1 million, winner takes all. So it really doesn't matter.
It brings on the topic.
So, what's before we talk about the podium here in Sydney, format for San Fran? Surely it's more than just one race, right?
Oh, yeah,
or
no,
they still
it's a whole
this
nother
is
series.
basically they do what do they call it, an act or an event or whatever, and then the final 3 qualifier.
That's it.
Then one race for the $1 million.
That's it. Unless I'm wrong.
Made for TV.
Made for TV. You're right. That is what it is.
It's the grand final.
We talked about it off air, and it came up in conversation at the Mighty Palace last night. There was a few people upset about the format. They said, "What's the go with this? Why aren't they all racing the last race?" People didn't understand or know it, and or have seen it before. And it was sort of it was a bit anticlimactic for them. Does that point sort of spread across us?
My view is, and having, for example, the event that we did in Port Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, need also think about the non-sailors. Like, it's so easy to think about it from our point of view.
Yeah.
But what I see they're doing, Sail GP, is obviously trying to get in the lounge rooms of everyone. So yesterday, for example, I sat down on the couch here, cracked open a Tui's New, watched some unbelievable racing for an hour and a half. Thought, how cool is that? And actually, does the general public care if there's 7 or 8 in one race versus 3 in the final? It probably makes more sense to general public. It doesn't make sense to us as sailors. Well, I'm still getting over the gold medal race. So,
and that's been around for years.
But my gut feel is it's not a coincidence. It's not just a shooting from the hip.
You think they planned it, and that's how they?
There's some solid planning and data and thought behind it.
If you look at the event as a TV show, everything's a lot easier to understand. It's just a TV show. It's a great TV show, one that we're very invested in because we're sailors. But
look at it like a TV show. Could I use that with my life?
We do. I don't know why you haven't been.
Anyway.
Oh, actually, I've got to tell you.
Well, we've got that out then, so we're happy with it then.
I've got to tell you a funny one, boys. I did one of the things I was doing there was taking the big VIP guests on base tours, and I had the CFO of Lend-Lease Digital come over with her husband, and I was going to do a base tour with them, and I just said, are you guys interested in sailing in any way? We've got folding windsurfer, we've got a 16, we've got a 30-footer, we've got, I'm going, so you're into the show, and they've just looked at us and said, and we love bar karate. and it was constant, mate. Bar karate was hilarious. All the sailors are into it, so g'day everyone.
Another point while I've got
big
you
shout
here.
out. Yeah.
While I've got you here, Jay, when do we start the commentating?
For the show, I don't know. I don't think I reached deep enough. I didn't see Russell there. I didn't see Larry. Or they might have seen me and gone the other way, but they didn't ask.
Okay, all right. Well,
maybe you should do it on Christmas Day for the start of the Hobart.
To do the commentary for them.
You can tip your toe in. No, we could run our own show.
Run our own one. Let's do it.
And just turn Channel 7 or whoever it's going to be.
Let's do
turn
it,
the TV down. And you two nutters can have a crack.
Yep.
So what do we do?
Do it.
Just do that live? Is that what you reckon? I actually haven't thought about the technology.
Yeah, just Facebook Live.
Do a Facebook Live.
Let's do that.
Sailor Girl's pretty good at that stuff. We'll ask her how she does it.
I work pretty close with Nick the last few days. She's got some energy, that kid. Oh, man. Super well connected into a lot of the corporates as well. So doing great work.
So that's good. So we've solved
that.
that problem. We've worked out how we're going to do the commentating for the Sydney to Hobart. We've moved forward on the race format of the Sail GP. We've done well there. Mm-hmm. What about the actual event?
What do you guys think?
What was the results? I loved it.
Yeah. It's definitely got legs. This event, it's definitely got legs. There's a lot of it. The model we created, or you created, Boise, on the Volvo, in the way they structure everything and the way everything's sort of set up. All the tents, it's like walking into the boatyard. In the way they do it, slightly more drawn out. They sort of got every team has their own base, but everything was exactly like it was just a lot smaller version of it. Not as much other stuff going on, but it was good. They managed the COVID thing pretty well, the amount of testing we had to do, and people that were just, I don't know where they all popped up. They just popped up out of nowhere and they were testing you all the time. So they were doing everything they can to make it safe. They were they had the Inspire program where they were trying to bring in future sailors, which is amazing. They've got their impact program, so the teams are actually judged on what they do environmentally and in inclusivity and a whole range of things. And they have these purpose partners that will get prize money. So there's actually two podiums, podium for the racing and podium for the impact league.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Which is cool, and there's prize money for that. And then, as I said, like Larry's just got huge visions. He's into it. It's going well. Because it recurs every year, I think it's gonna work.
Do you reckon it's economically viable, or Larry just keeps digging in?
I don't think Larry even notices the checks, mate. You know what he's doing?
I doubt he does. Yeah.
But no, I don't think. Well, actually, I'll
put it this way: it wouldn't survive unless you had the deep pockets to get it to what we're seeing. And at some point, the tipping point will come. I'm guessing that's where we're at, and those massive corporates will come in. The 23 events will happen, and it will be huge.
I think that's where they're aiming, right?
I think the success of that will become when we get title sponsors. Like we get that sort of major tie-in. I will say the sponsors' involvement, they love it. Obviously, I had a lot of those conversations, as I normally do, and the depth and I'm pretty certain we're going to see the thing back in Sydney without.
Got it right.
Yeah, without
Absolutely.
seeing contract negotiations, but because there was a lot of support from New South Wales government to make the event happen. Because it's expensive to do things in New South Wales because it's right in the middle of Sydney. We were in the Crown Casino. I had the head of the Crown Casino in Sydney there, that building out on the boat. He had an absolute ball. And, I kept making jokes about, roll the dice, $1 million, just like going to the casino sort of thing. He loved that. But we had major sponsors on the boats and their guests. And, you know what it's like, Bossy. You've done it heaps. It's the best commercial event to take your clients to in the world.
It is. And until you do it, you cannot get that excitement. Like, for us to crap on about it and talk how good it is, blah, 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 is awesome, and it gets a couple across the line. But until you're right there getting salt water, blowing in your face, that is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So what you're saying, Bossy, is if you are interested in something like this, get out there and have a go.
Get out there, have a crack. You will not be disappointed. Yeah.
All right. So,
event.
results.
Yeah. What? The odds?
Australia won.
Everyone's pretty happy.
You
Australia
called
winning
it,
in Australia.
didn't you? You called it before the race, didn't you?
Me? Going into the final, it was obvious Australia was going to win. Just they were sailing really, really well. I think Langford broke something when they had that sort of setback. He genuinely did. He got an override, but he takes it pretty well.
Did you speak to him about that at all? Or?
Oh, absolutely. He's cool. He's cool. I call him the big Swedish seagull. Mate, his kid, I don't know. Have you guys seen his kid?
No.
My God. Just don't put your hand between anywhere near his mouth. It's just going straight in there. He's shoveling food in that mouth so hard, that kid. I went over with my microphone. And I was looking across and the microphone disappeared into his mouth. I watched him eat. I was just looking at him. I'm just going, kid, it's just non-stop. He's just non-stop eating. I think he's about 3 months old and he's the size of a 5-year-old.
He's running around playing A-grade footy.
Great kid.
Oh, dear.
Great kid.
Good one. Good visions.
Oh, yeah. But Langford, he's good. He was cool. The Aussie team were great. They had some great. I'll say all the teams, but I guess we see the Aussies more because all the guests just wanted to see the Aussies.
Did you get a chance to catch up with Pete and Blair?
Not really. Blair came over and had a bit of a chat, but they had to be careful. I sort of just said a quick g'day to Pete, but Blair came over, bumped elbows, and
having nearly won their first race.
We did discuss the compensation packages that they have been offered for the America's Cup.
You did, yeah.
And he said we're onto it. We're 100% right.
So that they may or may
not be doing. They may or may have not. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the half an island from in Hawaii. The Davos Ski Resort, or renaming Cook Strait into their names. He said there's still more. They're still negotiating, so we need to come up with some ideas because they're using our ideas as part of the negotiations.
In the contract.
Oh, hang on. If you listen to episode 146, we'd like to offer that, please.
Very good.
Good. Yep. Well done, mate. You must be pretty knackered after
you can
a big
tell
few
by
days.
the voice.
Oh, no, I thought you were just putting that on. No, awesome stuff. Bloody good event, having it here. And no matter how you viewed it, whether it was on Fox or KO or Shark Island or some of the bigger boats around the harbour, sensational.
Yep, absolutely. Positive, and loved it, and I'm loving what it's doing. Well done. Yep. Well done, team.
And BP, you've had a bit of a glamour moment this week as well, mate.
I did.
Going sailing with JB.
I did. Yes, you don't often get a phone call from someone like John Bertrand. Yeah,
He was pumped, mate. He was super
career
happy.
moment.
I was chatting to him about you, but he was into it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we went out and sailed on his Etchels, and it was great fun. And that's where we went out and had boats going left, right, and centre, and a couple of those Sail GP boats came past. So, but I was too busy to even look, really.
Who else was with you?
Oh, some bloke called Grant Zimmer.
I saw Grant too. God, he's got a shock of silver hair, hasn't he? You must have been the only bloke with normal coloured hair on the boat, mate.
Oh, JB's got a pretty good crop.
Yeah, he's got hair, but it's all silver now.
I tell you what, it was a great experience, and yeah, for little old me, it was pretty humbling, but it was a great thing. That's obviously in preparation for a little event that's coming up in January, which
The non-national nationals.
The non-national nationals. I guess it's an opportunity just for the M11 guys to get together and go sailing, really.
Here.
So I guess we're mentioning it. The Dave Forbes Trophy, January 3rd to January 6th in Sydney, has been put together by the guys, and it is generally an open invitation, but it's gaining traction. So one to look forward to there.
Yeah, they're going to sort of celebrate a few of the famous names as well as part of that program. Was pretty. John Bircham was pretty fired up to pump that up and let people know. I'd love Bice if he told us this joke of his first sail on the VX with the Etchell guys, but I'm not sure if he's going to that one.
Oh, yeah. So,
go on.
We've had our first sail on the VX. And as we were out there, there's no wind, so we had to keep the banter up. And every Etchell we went past, I'm yelling out the back, "Sailor wonders on your cheeks." Sailor wonders.
Yes.
Some found it funny.
You literally
others not.
left a class the week before and you're already abandoned them.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, mate, I've got some loyalty. Don't worry about that.
Yep.
I'll be joining Shirley Robinson's podcast next week, by the way. Second best podcast in the world.
That'll go down well.
I'm not even. There's so many jokes, but I'm not saying it. Oh, dear.
All right.
Rightio.
There you go.
Let's wrap her up.
Oh, no. I got it.
Anything more? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Bice, I'm worried for you, mate, because you're going to Hobart. You're the only one out of us going down.
Mm-hmm.
No records for you, son. Looking at the long-range forecast, looking at the weather models.
Long-range forecast, it is all over the joint. Unfortunately, I'm on a boat that you want it to be absolutely gnarly to get any sort of record or anything from a performance point of view to win anything. But if you want to go for a nice little cruise down the coast, wrong boat for that. Being the Volvo 70X Ericsson 3, aptly now named Willow. So
I know technology. Technology's improved over the years, but they did say the same in '98 that it was going to be comfortable. The little front was going to come through and then settle back down. I never say too much until the day before. So let's see, eh?
Whereas I say too much from weeks out,
way before,
yes,
and generally nail it.
Generally nail it. You're right.
So you are going to get 15 to 20 knot sou'easter for the first day, and then there's going to be a big ridge form off Hobart after about a day, and there'll be no wind, and everyone will be. So take your picnic table, take your board games,
your shorts,
your board games, and just be ready for. It's going to be bang, bang, bang into a bit of waves because you'll have a couple of days of build up in the seaway. So the sou'east will move slightly east, and then you'll move into a ridge line, so right into the centre, not a ridge line, basically just no wind. And so the later
last routing I saw 3 days.
Yeah, there you go. That's
on a Volvo 70.
Yeah. That sucks.
That's slow.
Oh, yeah. I'll have a word to the government, see what we can do.
Joe, you've got written down here on the run sheet, not sure what else after the talking about the Etchells. So I do have one thing.
Yes, my friend.
You're flying back to Queensland tonight, eh? Or
assuming my PCR clearance comes through, it's the hardest place to Fortress Queensland. Don't call it Queensland. It's Fortress Queensland.
Fortress Queensland. Yeah, well, there was a notice on the radio yesterday. I don't know if you heard it. Did you catch up with it? Said basically to all Queenslanders flying back from Sydney, don't forget to wind your clock back 1 hour and 32 years.
Oh.
If you leave today, you should be back for the 1988 Expo.
You're a funny bastard. A funny bastard. We do that joke for Newcastle in New South Wales. That's for my Newcastle mates. They'll have used to me saying that joke for so long, and you've done it to me. It's great.
Yeah. So I'm just letting you know. Just be karma. Just be ready for that one. Just make sure you do that.
Speaking of nothing, what else to talk about? Next week we'll probably, because technically when we release this, Bicey, you'll be on the water heading south. So we'll do a little early record, maybe do a bit of a preview of the Hobart. So we'll focus in on the Hobart.
Yep.
And have a bit of fun. But we've had a great week this week.
Yeah, well done.
Wonderful. Yep,
Good effort.
great work.
I'll try and pick up anything I can off the docks this week here in Sydney. If anyone's around the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, will be that big black boat out the end. So give us a shout. Like a bit of talk,
From a distance.
Bit of inside info for the Hobart.
Yes.
Ice. Did our good mate Sean Wagner over in the US, who has a brewery group over there, he's got his own brewery. He sent some stuff over, samples for helping us with our development.
Did you drink them?
Has it gone to you? And you've, I thought you were bringing stuff to Sydney to share, and we weren't allowed to see each other. I'm a bit concerned.
No. There may or may not have been a delivery.
and you may or may not have drunk them.
Delivery may or may not have been consumed. Take from that what you will.
And on that note,
my friends.
On that note,
all I'm going to say, boss, I'm hoping to be there for the start of in South Oz for the start of
Adelaide Lincoln,
and I expect samples still to be alive.
100%. I've got the yeast brewing in the fridge as we speak.
That's it. That's what we want. Cool.
Good on you, lads.
All right.
Great.
Cheers,
Looking forward to the next week. Speak to you
Love your
soon.
work.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Keep those orders rolling in, peoples, but don't expect them for a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.